I call to order the May 27th, 2026 Planning Commission hearing at 9 a.m. We're meeting in the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors chambers as well as via Zoom. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, please proceed with roll call.
Commissioner Burrows,
Here.
Commissioner Gupta, Commissioner Serrano Kwan,
Here.
Vice Chair Nugent,
Here.
Chair Garcia.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum and staff is represented by Monowitz, Fox, Segura, and Gonzalez. Thank you.
We will now open public comment for items on the consent agenda and items not on the agenda. This meeting is a limited public forum. All public comments must relate to something that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the agency. If a comment does not relate to the subject matter jurisdiction of the agency, we will interrupt your comment and move on to the next speaker. As presiding officer of the meeting, I will determine whether a comment does or does not relate to the matters placed within the agency's purview. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will first call upon members in person, followed by speakers on Zoom. For in-person comments, the speaker slips are located in the back of the room. On Zoom, please use the raise hand feature or *9 if you are calling by phone. And at this time, we have nobody wishing to speak on items not on the agenda or on consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now close public comment for items on the consent agenda and items not on the agenda. Is there a motion to set the agenda and approve consent agenda, which includes items 1, minutes from the May 13th, 2026 meeting?
So moved.
I second.
Commissioner Burrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Gupta,
Aye.
Commissioner Serrano Kwan, Vice Chair Nugent,
Aye.
Chair Garcia.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Moving on to item 2, Madam Clerk, please introduce the project and the planner.
Owner applicant Jim and Maria Aguirre, file number PLN 2025-00216, location 0 San Lucas Avenue, Moss Beach, APN 037-271-040, and your project planner is Sona Agarwal.
Morning to the planning commissioners, members of the public and staff. I'm Sonal Agarwal, project planner of PLN 2025-00216. The application before you is a coastal development permit for a fence which was placed on a bluff top parcel. The project is an after-the-fact coastal development permit to legalize a 3.5-foot high fence and 2 gates constructed on a 25,077 square feet vacant bluff-top parcel on Ocean Boulevard at Metrone Avenue in Moss Beach area of the unincorporated San Mateo County. As there is no primary permitted use at the site, the development of a standalone fence is considered as development as defined by the San Mateo County Ordinance section and requires a CDP. Over here, you can see the site. There used to be a house back in, which was built in 1925, demolished in 2008 due to safety reasons. Approximately half of the site is already eroded, and the site is zoned as R1S105 DRGH and Coastal Development District. It's in Coastal Development District. The fence is actually placed in the front and part on the sides as well. Over here is the survey of the site, which shows the location of the fence shown in the pink highlight. And there are 2 gates which are also part of legalization. There's a pedestrian gate which is located in the right of way and a secondary gate which is on the property. Here are some pictures of the fence which shows 2 solid gates and open split rail fence. Here is the picture of the pedestrian gate and the secondary gate. So staff has added condition number 3 to remove and replace these 2 wooden gates with gates that are no higher than the split rail fence and have an open design. such as the gates that use wood to frame open wire to comply with the several LCP policies listed on the next page. Oh, sorry. Can I go? Sorry. Sorry. So staff has found that the project complies with general plan, various LCP policy, policy 4.5, 4.2b, 4.67, 8.5, 8.15, and complies with Coastal Act access and recreational policies. It complies with zoning regulation as the fence is no higher than 4 feet in the front setback. It complies with the design and fence height regulations, and the only requested change is the change of the 2 wooden gates in the front to comply with these policies. The project is exempt from environmental review pursuant to SECA guidelines section 15303 class 3E relating to accessory structures, including garage, carport, patio, swimming pools, and fences. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the coastal development permit of county file number PLN 2025 to 2025-00216 by adopting the required findings and conditions of approval in attachment A. That concludes my presentation, and I will be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
We had a comment from the public regarding the exemption from CEQA, and I just wanted to clarify, just to double check. My impression is that the project that has been found exempt from CEQA is the fence and gate, but not future unspecified
Yeah, that's
improvements.
correct. Yeah, any future work will require its own permit and review at the time.
Okay, thank you.
Got a question on since it appears there's conflicting information on the construction of this. Does who constructed the fence have any legal impact on this? Or is it just the current owner who's responsible?
Yes, the current owner is responsible for legalizing any fence that was built without permits. So whether it was the current owner or the former owner doesn't really have any impact on the Planning Commission's decision here today.
Thank you.
Very good presentation. I really liked your style, where you put the pertinent information right in front in your report. So my question is, in your drawing of the fence, where you show which part is in the right-of-way, a public right-of-way, are there any implications of that?
So the applicant will need to apply for encroachment permit with Department of Public Works, and I think there's also a roadway agreement, maintenance agreement that will be required, and that will be taken care of as a separate process with DPW.
Okay. So we are not asking them to move the fence.
No, we
No.
are just asking them to apply proper permits with Department of Public Works.
Okay. And also there's something about maintenance agreement
Yes.
there. So what does that entail? Maintaining what part? The part that's in the right of way? Is that the only part that they need to maintain?
Yeah, my understanding is that anything that they are doing in the right of way should be done as per the standards of Department of Public Works. And if there is something that needs to be maintained, it will be part of an agreement that Public Works will be taking care of with the property owner.
Okay. Alright. Okay. And we are aware that one of the one of the correspondence, they mentioned this outhouse on the property, and we are like county is okay with that, or
So I think Steve.
So that was the first time I ever heard of any structure beyond the fence on the property. Sonal, do you have any information
don't
on that?
have any
So I-
information on that.
I think we can ask the applicant
Yeah.
when the applicant presents.
okay. Okay. So, and my last question is that even though the maximum height of the fence as well as the gates could be up to 4 feet,
Yes.
but we are asking them to stay within the same height as the fence
Yes.
for the gates.
Yeah.
When they redo the gates. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks. If the applicant is here, you're welcome to speak. You have 15 minutes.
Good morning. Good morning. Boy, what a process. What a process to get this permit approved. I hope we're at the end of it. It's been about a year. The fence and the gates, this is what we came to our property the first time. The reason the fence and the gates are put up or were put up were because of the vandalism, the trespassing, and yeah, rich pricks F off is what they wrote on our fence or the gates. So this is, again, graffiti on the concrete pad of the house that was built over 100 years ago. There's conflicting information on why and how the whole process happened and why it was demoed. In my opinion, the house should have been tried to been saved because it's a landmark. It was a landmark from 1925. So we're new to San Mateo. We're new to this area, trying to figure out the logistics and the laws and the policies and drive around and see many, many fences over 4 feet on the coastal bluff all throughout the area that we're at. So kind of feel like I'm being picked on or bullied. I'm not sure what to call it. We're trying to do the right thing. We took responsibility, as I mentioned before, to the first planners. The fence is not coming down because of the liability issues. We sit about 100 feet above Seal Cove. You even look up, rescues Moss Landing, you're going to see a gentleman who fell over and they're harnessing and bringing him up. There's a video on YouTube. So in terms of the solid gates having to be changed, as I'm trying to understand and wrap my mind around it, they're no taller than this. I'm not sure what they're hindering and whose views they're hindering. If they must be changed, we will change them. But again, you go around the whole neighborhood and this is what you see. Now, whether or not they're legal or not, I'm not going to whistleblow on anybody. I'm just trying again to understand how you guys operate out here. I mean, I live in Sunnyvale, so Stevie warned me about Welcome to the Coast. Had no idea that it would be this expensive and this time consuming. Our goal is to try to build here. I mean, we're hoping. Don't know if that's going to be attainable. But if this is, a taste of what I have coming to me, I don't think I've got the fight in me. So I ask that you reconsider the gates having to be replaced. I ask that you approve this. We bought it. I fell in love with it. My husband puts up with my shenanigans. It's the most beautiful view of the ocean. And that's all I got to say. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think there was a question about a potential outbuilding. Would we like the applicant to address it?
Oh, yes, I was going to turn it over to questions from the commission, and I figured the commission would ask that question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your time.
Oh, wait, no.
Sorry.
Please stay. This is an opportunity for the commission to ask questions of the applicant.
Okay.
So one of the correspondence, there's a mention of an outhouse. Is there one?
There is one.
There is one.
We're using the property as a day use and trying to enjoy it. And so we wanted to simplify and having to have to, make life easier for us and leave and go use the distillery bathroom or another bathroom, or unlike the trespassers urinating all over the property, using number 2 out there as well. So I didn't think that would be an issue.
Okay. No, just want to, just for information. Is there anything else other than the remnants of the home that was there and the outhouse? Is there any other construction?
There's no other construction right now. I'd like to get my water turned on for the use of existing, watering the existing landscape that's there. But I've gotten nothing but pushback from Ontario Water and the planning department. There is water there. As we know, that was probably the first house built in the area. The owners previous to us paid on that bill up until January of last year, and was told by Montero Water, get them to pay their back pay, get them to pay their back pay.
Sorry, we have no control.
Oh, I
of that.
understand
Yeah,
that. I'm just simply
right.
requesting water to be turned on by somebody because
No, I think it's a fence is a very good thing that's there. How long have you owned the property?
a year and a half.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm glad that you have
No,
the
we're trying to
fence.
beautify it. I mean, we've had nothing but positive reinforcement from the neighbors, especially right across the street. The amount of trespassing and the improper behavior that was happening on that bluff, as I was told by young kids, this place is called the Slab. And I said, well,
Yeah.
Slab no more, my friends. We now own it and we're locals and we're taking care of it and enjoying it and just preserving what's left there.
Yeah, the other correspondence says that they are very happy that you have the fence. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I think for Mrs. Aguirre's information and for the commission and the record to be clear, installation of an outhouse is something that triggers the need for a permit. And in fact, our environmental health division, I think, would not allow for any sort of bathroom that's not connected to proper municipal services. So that is something that's a new piece of information that we've just learned about that we'll have to work with Mrs. Aguirre to resolve.
How should we handle that at this point in time?
She will either need to remove it or apply for a separate permit to keep it.
So that's another $6,500.
It's the same application fee as the fence, correct?
It cannot be done on the same permit if we were to delay this to a later date.
I guess that's a potential way to go. My hesitancy is with regard to the lack of a connection to the municipal wastewater treatment system.
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm if she's about to file another application for a permit, I'm just trying to save her the trouble of
mhm.
she's got an application open. If we could consolidate the two,
Yeah, and it's got its own basin. It's more protection.
that's
That we're-
that's not
yeah.
something we can.
No. I'm just saying, he said, as far as the water and
I guess the reason I was reluctant is it seems to me highly unlikely that we will be able to recommend approval of that. But if that is the desire of the commission, it is certainly a decision that's open to you to make.
Can you clarify? You think it's highly unlikely that I don't know that we could resolve this today, but I'm asking if we were to allow the applicant to amend the application, we could just bring it back as a joint one, or is I'm just looking to streamline the process here.
Yes, I think from our perspective, the most streamlined approach would be to have that structure removed as quickly as possible. I don't see a path forward where we could recommend approval or where this commission could find that development's consistent with the applicable policies. But it is certainly within your discretion to continue this matter and provide the applicant with the opportunity to amend there.
You just think that application would subsequently fail?
Correct.
Okay.
without having any reports, without having any, I just,
Oh, no, I mean,
no, I'm talking to Steve right now. It just, I understand his standing. I understand we're in zone 1, which according to a retired gentleman that lives in the area is arbitrary, zone 1, 2, and 3. Cotton Shires did this huge report in a matter of 4 to 6 months to how to complete it. I'm talking to a GO from Southern California that feels more than confident that we can get the reports that they need, but I'm not going to be given that opportunity, as I've already been told. So
Well,
for now, we're just trying to enjoy what we've purchased, and we pay our property taxes. It's zoned for R1. Yes, I know I'm on the bluff. Yes, I know I'm in zone 1, but not to be given an opportunity to show that it is buildable it's upsetting.
Well, through the chair, since this is we're given an opportunity to ask questions, I guess I'll ask you the question. Would you prefer that we delay this so you can check to see under this permit whether or not whatever structure you have there is permitted or could be permitted without having to necessarily pay another fee to go through the process of just checking what is allowed, and then come back to us without basically giving you the opportunity to not have to pay another fee for permits, to get clarity as to what is going on, because I don't have any idea what it is.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So we're not going to make a ruling on it today, but we don't also want to waste your money. And so
I appreciate that.
would
I
you
appreciate
prefer to just have us further this and wait until
continue this to a later
yeah,
date.
continue this and then come back once you have an opportunity to sit down with the planning department about this structure? Is that something, because otherwise we can make a ruling on the fence and then who knows what happens
Mhm.
with the other structure.
As I said earlier, it's within the commission's discretion to continue this matter and to provide the applicant with an opportunity to supplement their application. I would just want to be clear that the commission would have the ability to act independently on each piece, because while, per the staff report, we are supportive of keeping the fence with some minor modifications. At this point, I don't believe staff can support retaining the outhouse building.
So just want to give you the
No, I
option
don't. I
to,
appreciate that. I
to
appreciate it.
speak what you think.
Yeah. Um, well, I mean, go through this and at the end of the day, they're still going to deny it. So, you know, I guess we'll keep our property as empty as can be to keep peace. Um, I, I'm deflated, dear. I don't know. I'm exhausted. Um, I came in with just knowing that I'm going to finally get my permit for the fence. Am I happy with that? Yes. Did I think this outhouse is going to be an issue? Absolutely not, especially because everybody knows that our goal is to build there. And if you had any other parcel, and there's many parcels in our areas that have outhouses on them for future build, I don't know what the issue is. But if I'm going to keep hitting the same wall, I'm not going to throw any more money at this. We have a geo guy that's very interested in coming out to help us, but you know, if I'm going to be told now, I think I'm going to be told later. And, you know, it just, his words to me were, well, you just go to litigation then, Maria. You know, I'm getting old. I wish this was 20 years ago. I'd have a fight in me a little bit more, but I don't know. I mean,
So again, I want to know what your preference is, because you know, I don't know what's going to happen, but it looks like, you know, there's a high likelihood that the planning commission is going to approve your fence today.
thank you.
And if you prefer to see whether the outhouse structure is permissible or not, you could.
Well,
we
you
could,
just heard it from the
yeah,
boss.
right.
It's
But
not
again,
going to
it's
be
not
acceptable.
Yeah, but that is not. It has been thoroughly reviewed for, you know, we again, he can't guarantee what it is. However, there's a high likelihood based on his expertise. So the question for you is, would you prefer us to move forward today with the fence, or do you want to wait?
You guys can't approve that outhouse.
We cannot approve
You
that.
cannot.
Yeah.
Okay.
One point about the outhouse that, as it states, placing anything within the drip line of the trees, you know, is not allowed. And based on the pictures I saw, you're in the drip line of the trees, so
Well,
that would
you know,
be.
we positioned it so that it wouldn't be a site, you know, a sight for sore eyes, and we even covered it with the, you know, camouflage. My husband's a general contractor, a landscape contractor, has been for 44 years, and so, you know, we're just we tried. Okay, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be an issue because everybody, and again, especially planning, knows my goal is to build there, and how am I going to own this property and not have the comfort of just having that bathroom? If that's all I'm going to get from purchasing this property, then why can't we just keep it there?
The outhouse does produce waste, and
No, we have it serviced every week, sir. I mean, it's a reputable company. They service all of the outhouses in the area. You know, we're just trying to enjoy what we bought. I don't know how else to say it. You know, don't think I'll ever get past them on the build, which is unfortunate.
Mr. Monowitz.
Yes, with regard to these temporary structures that are used on construction sites for restrooms, they are indeed intended to be temporarily. Neither the Planning and Building Department nor the Division of Environmental Health allow the use of porta potties, if you call them that, on a long-term basis.
Is there a period of time where it can be maintained before it triggers a removal? Like
Usually,
what is defined as temporary?
well, while construction is ongoing.
I see.
If, construction is delayed for a substantial amount of time, then, we might need to take action, require removal, but typically they're allowed during construction when somebody's got a valid permit.
Okay. Maybe looking a little bit further forward, were you to apply for a building permit on the property, are there any other steps that
So the first step, of course, would be obtaining planning permits, both a coastal development permit as well as design review. As the applicant has noted, the property is located in Zone 1 of Seal Cove, which is an extremely hazardous area where the geotechnical professionals have told us it is unsafe to build. That is one of the reasons why Montero Water and Sanitary District has no interest in connecting her property to water or sewer services. They have been experiencing sewer breaks in the area due to recent land movement, and the structure nearby has been red tagged in the recent past due to landslide movement. So there are significant geologic hazards on this site that will need to be resolved before any proposed development can be reviewed by this commission. As noted by the applicant, she has been in contact with a geotechnical professional from Southern California. We had an opportunity to meet with that geotechnical professional and identify what would be required, that we, based on our understanding of the geologic conditions out there, it seemed extremely unlikely that he could provide the evidence necessary to support the construction of a home. And that's where the situation stands.
Can I have I have a comment to that. In
Sure.
regards to the house being red tagged, I personally know the owners that had the property prior to us, the Rivards. They demoed the property because there has been an engineered swell that was installed in front of our property, and I'm trying to deal with Public Works on that in terms of all of the stormwater coming down our property. That's what,
Just to be clear, that is not the property I was speaking of. I was speaking of 89 San Lucas.
oh yeah, the Cricket House, the slanted house. Yeah, that one collapsed because the road collapsed because roads are not being taken care of in the area, regardless of the landslide. And I don't know how they're getting away with that, but that's for the residents there to take the fight on. And they have been, I'm talking about my property. The house that was red tagged was not red tagged. It was demoed by the previous owners because of the 9-foot gully that's been caused on the property because of all the stormwater draining onto our property. It caused it to snap in half. I have pictures. So, all these things are, again, hearsay. She said, he said, and I don't know.
Are there any other commissioner questions? Okay. Thank you. I want to open. Oh, yes.
No, so then we'll have to go with what we have in front of us,
Well, we have
whatever.
comment first, but
Yes, that's what I mean, because applicant is
yes.
Not does not have an opinion on the question that.
No, I have an opinion. I'm going to go ahead and agree that you guys please approve it. I need this behind me. I need to move on.
Okay.
In terms of the outhouse, I suppose I'll do what I have to do, which is to remove it, and
Okay.
I just, yeah.
Okay.
I
Thanks.
appreciate you guys listening, and I hope that changes come, not just for my property, but for the whole properties that are, in the area. And San Mateo, I know, can do better. It's that simple. Thank you.
Thanks. We will now open public comment for this item. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we did receive written public comment that was circulated to the commission and posted to the website. And we do have 2 virtual hands raised on Zoom. So I will first call on Ping Chow. You will have 5 minutes. Please unmute and begin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I've listened to the counsel in Ms. Aguirre in her case. This is what I would like to say. The gate and the fence that is currently constructed is a great deterrence for trespassers onto that private property, which has been going on for the last several years. I know that because I've been in that area for the last 25 years, and my neighbors all agree with me. This is the issue. The problem before without the fence is that people, day trippers as well as night campers, were staying on the property. They created a lot of garbage and they trampled all over that bluff. Ms. Gary is wrong in saying that the house was removed. The house that was sitting on the foundation, the concrete foundation that is there, which is only half there, was because the house fell down into the bottom. Okay, I know that because I've lived there long enough, and our neighbor, next door neighbor, also is aware of that and relayed that to me because she was there when that red house, which used to be a red house, slid down the bluff. This is the amount of erosion. I would ask council to refer to the Cotton Report, which was commissioned by the county in 1970s, I believe, which basically stated that the whole bluff area is condemned and will be losing 1 foot a year on average. So we have witnessed it. We've been on the coast for a long time. The bluff has lost a lot. As mentioned by one of the councilmen, recently we have had a major shift in the ground underneath. And contrary to what Mrs. Guerra says about the roads not being maintained, the problem is that whole soil underneath the roads is soft. And all of you can just go there and drive there and see for yourself in person. The roads are undulating. And all of us who are on the bluff, back from the on that street of Ocean Boulevard, back from the bluff, are all concerned about when our house is going to be closer to the ocean because the erosion is real. What Mrs. Aguirre would like to do in future is build. That I cannot believe anyone would be able to approve, because just by even trampling on the soil by the various people who like to look at the ocean, and everybody does, that adds to the accelerated erosion. So the issue with the outhouse, unfortunately for her, I realized she would like to enjoy her property, but when she bought it, she knew that it was a condemned area. She knew that it was a threatened area. You just have to look with your eyes when you're out there, and you will see how threatened that whole bluff is. So my recommendation is, 1, we approve the gate because the fence, because that prevents people from going onto that bluff in that concrete structure that still exists with the possibility of having a fatal accident. We've already had one man fished out because he was enjoying the bluff just like that. He fell down and they had to call fire trucks. There were like 10 fire trucks getting him out that day in 2022. So that is something that may happen again. And the next time, none of us will be lucky enough that someone doesn't die falling over the bluff. God forbid if a child does that. So from the legal point of view, the gate is in the fence as it stands currently does not prevent people from enjoying the bluff as they walk past, but it also is a good deterrence for people to be standing around the edge of the bluff and there will be accidents. That's my one issue. The second issue is for further development. And you need to go to look at the Cotton Report and any other reports that indicate that bluff is eroding as we speak. Any structures that are going to be maintained there is going to be at risk. The roads, you can see themselves, have been destroyed because of the various erosions around that whole area. As I said, all of the owners in that area are concerned about that. So any future damage to the bluff that threatens the bluff would compromise all of us. So I would recommend, number one, we do approve the gate fence as is. No further building on that property should happen, because it's always a balance between owners who want to enjoy their property and the community who want to basically keep it without any danger. So unfortunately for Mrs. Gary, I think the research should have been done. And like I said, you don't need to do much research. You just go out there and you'll see for yourself. I've lived there a long time and I've seen that bluff get closer and closer to the homes, the opposite of the street. That's my comment.
And with that, Mr. Chair, we have no further comment on Zoom. Thank you.
So when you said there
They
was a sec,
lowered their hand.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I guess we will now close public comment and proceed to commission discussion. Any-
I don't know if there's a misperception on this about the fence being, it's not going to be removed or anything. What we're proposing is just going to be changed to unblock the view. Basically, that's the main issue.
Yes,
Based on the
gate.
the
Just the gates need to be
the
changed.
gates,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, the fence, which I'd like to say as a coastside resident, I've been by that area countless times. I've seen it. I know exactly what it is. I guess I'd ask the appellant, are you
I mean, maybe we should limit.
oh, okay. Was the fence there when you purchased the property? Was a fence there? Yeah.
The safety issue.
The answer was affirmative.
Yes, it was up
Yeah.
because we had a lot of
Right.
concerns. And
Yeah, I
so
recall there was like 2 generations of the fence there, and
there's been
it-
many fences.
you added the gates.
They added the gates.
Okay.
So again, my question is, whose view is it obstructing and why do we have to put the hog wire fence in? I'm baffled. I just. if
Well, that
that's
was
what's
covered
going
by
to-
the
If that's going to appease Connie,
fire
then
planner.
that's what we will do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Well, it looks like the planning department is just asking us to ensure that this is in compliance with our codes. So it seems like it's just the manner of getting the gate to be in compliance, and then this should be no issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the fence, the pictures that I've seen, they look good. And with condition number 3 in the in what we are approving, that I am for it. So
I perhaps one concern I might have, not super pertinent to the fence, but I hope within the disclosures during the property sale, there was some language in there about the extreme ill likelihood of construction, but that's
Mr. Chair, that is our practice when we have a permit opportunity to require such disclosure in the future. I think the original house here was built prior to those permit requirements, so whether or not such a disclosure was placed on the property, it's hard to say. But if you're suggesting that that be a condition added to this permit, that is something that we could entertain. I'm
not prepared to do that without some sort of geological report. I don't think we have.
And I think the geologic information that's out there and readily available speaks for itself in terms of the risks that any future purchaser would assume by acquiring the property.
Oh. Yeah. I think we're ready to entertain a motion at this point.
Yeah, the public comment period has ended, unfortunately. I would like to, can we get the recommendation up? I would like to propose that the Planning Commission approve the coastal development permit, county file number PLN 2025-00216 by adopting the required findings and conditions of approval contained in attachment A. Can I get a second?
I second.
Commissioner Burrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Gupta,
Aye.
Commissioner Serrano Kwan, Vice Chair Nugent,
Aye.
Chair Garcia. Thank you. Motion carries.
Moving on to item 3. Madam Clerk, please introduce the planner, the project.
Thank you. Item 3, it's a local coastal program policy amendment, and you're presented by Planning Services Manager Bharat Singh.
Chair Nugent and Commissioners. As mentioned, I'm Bharat Singh. I'm the Planning Services Manager. And in front of you is an amendment to the San Mateo County Local Coastal Program Policy 1.23. And the consideration is to allow for, which is an amendment to the policy which allows for issuance of more than 40 annual residential building permits for affordable housing projects if the growth rate average over a 3-year period, including the year of building permit issuance and the following 2 years, does not exceed 40 units a year. The amendment would replace the 3-year average period with annual average number of permits issued from January 1, 2013 through including the year of building permit issuance. I know it's a mouthful, but I hopefully in my presentation will clarify all of that. So a little bit of a background. Originally, the LCP had a limit of 125 units per year for the urban mid-coast. Due to significant concerns of lack of infrastructure or failing infrastructure and transportation challenges, in 2006, the county had proposed a reduction to 75 units per year. But through back and forth negotiations with the Coastal Commission and the community, the Commission had recommended 40 units a year, which was in line with what Half Moon Bay had in place, which was a 1% annual growth, based on the 1% annual growth of their population. And numerically, the 40 units worked in the same at the same percentage rate. Again, the key drivers for that reduction, as I mentioned, was traffic congestion on coastal routes, challenges with wastewater system failures, water supply constraints, and again, the Coastal Commission wanting to have an aligned growth rate with Half Moon Bay. So with that, the condition that was placed by the Coastal Commission that the 40-unit cap would remain in effect until a transportation plan for the coast was adopted, and the stormwater and wastewater facilities were improved, and only then would they consider a change in the growth rate by an LCP amendment. The exception that is there in the policy at this point is for affordable housing, the development of affordable housing. If there is a project where a certified affordable development is proposed, they can exceed the 40-unit limit, provided that the year that the permit is issued and the 2 years beyond that, the average is maintained at 40 units to the year. And it was quite logical at that time to have that because we did not have any precedents before that. And therefore, that was accepted. Since then, we have looked at how many permits have come through, and we've never really hit the 40 units limit that has been set for the mid coast. That is until when we had an application for Cypress Point. That was a 100% affordable project with 71 units in the urban mid coast. In 2025, when that permit was issued, a total of 102 building permits were issued, which was about 62 units beyond the 40-unit limit. And that, because of that, and because of this policy in place, we are constrained to only issuing 18 new permits between the 2026 all the way till January 1st, 2028. Resulting of this limit, we have several challenges that we are foreseeing for ourselves. First and foremost is we have about 24 permits in the works right now, out of which, as I mentioned, only 18 can be issued. The rest would have to be in limbo, which is a problem because we have the Permit Streamlining Act. There is also a demand for housing, and we risk getting challenged or litigated on those if we are not able to issue them. The other issue is with this limit, if you look at the table in the staff report on page 5, shows that we are on average about in the last 4 or 5 years having about 31 or 32 units per year permits being issued. So for 2027 and the rest of 2026, we won't be able to issue those permits. So all of those will come out in 2028, which could immediately hit the limit. And there will be a cascading result of that into 2029. So we foresee that for the next 4 years, we will be hitting the limit every year. And we don't know in 2029 how much of that would be resolved. Would there be more demand? And likelihood there might be more challenges to this limit. So these are the challenges that we are foreseeing. The other aspect is that right now there is no project, affordable housing projects on the horizon. But if there is one in 2029 or 2030, we may run into the same issue, and may be of concern because we may not have the ability to approve that just because of the limit. So these are the existing challenges that we face. So in that context, we looked at what are the alternatives in terms of what can be done to change the limit. The first alternative is already listed in the policy document, which is to develop the transportation plan, improve the infrastructure, and therefore then go to the Coastal Commission to increase the limit. So as you see on the slide here, we have developed Connect Coast Side, which has been in place for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years. In 2024, we did the Getting There Together. That was approved as a joint travel demand management plan with Half Moon Bay. The Sewer Authority for Mid-Coast Side has been working and has put in a lot of infrastructure improvements that have improved the wastewater management on the coast. And the county has adopted stormwater development standards since then that also improve the stormwater management on the coast. However, we've never really gone to the Coastal Commission with these to increase our limit, because we never really hit the limit till 2025. So there wasn't any immediate need to do so. Now that there is, and if we do take this to them, it's a long drawn out process to go through the application process and getting the Coastal Commission to review each one of these documents. And we don't believe that we would be able to complete that till 2028, and we would still be in the same boat of being constrained in issuing up residential permits. So the other alternative that was in front of us was changing the averaging method. So in this situation, we've looked at what was the unrealized allowances from the past years and how much of those permits we did not need. And that's about 166 units since January 1st, 2013. So if we did, our recommendation is to change the averaging method from rather than looking at the year that the permit was issued and to the following 2 years, we look at the years in the years past, and if we had not not maximized our permit and what are the available unrealized opportunities there, and utilize that in terms of averaging it out. That way, the Cypress Point project could be accommodated without impeding the 40 unit limits for 2026 and 2027. And that would allow us to approve all the regular permits, which we can safely assume would be about 31 to 32 units per year for 2026 and 2027. So in this process, we actually did have a conversation with the Coastal Commission staff, and they were in agreement that this was a good alternative to in the way of an amendment, and they believe that it is small enough that it would be a de minimis so that we could get it done rather quickly. So therefore, we are in front of you to make this recommendation to the board. So the other aspect of it was CEQA. So I think I jumped ahead a little bit. So the policy text update that we are recommending, as you can see here, the earlier statement that is part of 1.23D is the growth rate average over the 3-year period that includes the year of building permit issuance and the following 2 years does not exceed 40 units to the year. We are recommending to change that to the annual average numbers of permits issued from January 1st, 2013, the year after the adoption of the growth limit that was certified by the Coastal Commission, through and including the year of the building permit issuance, not exceed 40 units to the year. So just to sort of help everybody understand this, there is this visualization of what these two mean. So on the left is the chart shows you what the existing policy will do. As you can see, the orange here is the unrealized allowances for the past years up to 2024. As you can see, in 2025, we exceeded the limit. And then in 2026 and 2027, what you see in terms of the orange is what we can allow. And the light blue that you see over there is covering for the excess that we have in 2025. And this is based on the existing policy language. Should we amend that language to what we have recommended, what you will see is that light blue, which is the excess amount that we have in 2025, is applied to the past years. And as you can see, it's, I think, about 5.5 units per year that is added to all the previous years. And that gives us a clear 40 unit limit for 2026 and 2027. And that way we don't impede all the applications that are in the process at this point and any future applications for 2027. That said, the environmental review requirement under section 21080.9 of the California Public Resource Code, it exempts local governments from requirements of CEQA in connection with activities and approvals necessary for the preparation and adoption of a local coastal program. The certification of the LCP by the Coastal Commission is subject to CEQA, and the Commission's LCP review and approvals program has been found by the Resources Agency to be a functional equivalent of an environmental review required by CEQA, pursuant to CEQA section 21080.5. What that means is that the Coastal Commission's review is equivalent to a CEQA analysis of this amendment. With that, I will encourage the Commission to recommend that the Board of Supervisors adopt a resolution directing staff to submit the local coastal program amendment to the method of averaging the growth rate cap to allow for affordable housing development in the urban mid-coast for California Coastal Commission certification by adopting the recommendations in this staff report. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation. I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
I'm curious as to how the determination of unused permits from previous years is used as a basis now for adding the number of units, because based on what I'm seeing, if it in true, the average of permits issued in the last 13 years, I think, is 28.5 per year. In the last, since 2019, it's been 31 units. But if this is done to the maximum, if we max out this, we're going to have 62 excess permits in the next 3 years at 182, then over the 40 permit cap. So 62 extra units at a time when, the Cypress project is going in. So I'm wondering how this all is going to impact a limit that was used to, protect infrastructure constraints and protect coastal resources.
Well, at this point, we are trying to, in terms of the limit for infrastructure, the limit of impact of development on infrastructure, as I mentioned, what's listed in the policy was wastewater, stormwater, and transportation.
Yeah.
There are clear requirements in the policy in terms of what needs to be done about that.
Right.
And we have done that. We never went to the Coastal Commission to go and submit those to them because we never really hit the limit. So those improvements have already been in place. So we don't foresee that would be a constraint in the future. The other thing to consider here is this is only in the case of affordable projects, which, as I mentioned, are far and few. We've not had any project come in the last 13 years except for the Cypress Point, and we don't foresee anything in the near future that's happening. What this policy text does in this situation is essentially stymie any projects that residents have right now in terms of either building a new home or ADU. Those would be stalled, and that would create a cascading effect without really reaching the limit. So what we are trying to do here is taking that 62 that we are in excess, and again, that is not just all the Cypress Point one, because if you look at it, it's 102. So you have 102 units, of which 71 were for Cypress Point. So there are other projects that were approved in 2025. So if you look at that, it's again 31 units, which is the regular that we are seeing as a trend. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is essentially maintain that 31, 32 per year, and not having this cascading effect that could potentially impede a lot of regular development that has been happening all the way up to, I'm assuming, 2029, the very least, if not more, should there be more requests for ADUs, which again, you can see in the trend in that table is increasing. So there isn't really any additional strain on the infrastructure with this change, because what this is taking care of is what's been approved already. Cypress Point, as a building permit, has been approved. It has looked and analyzed all the issues that it faces. There are some significant transportation challenges out there, which we are also providing resolution for as through the building permit negotiation that had happened. You are also aware of our efforts with the Moss Beach safety project that is trying to improve significantly the challenges that are out there, and we are diligently pursuing that. So that said, there are a lot of things that we have already done that are asked for in the policy document that we just didn't go to the Coastal Commission to get approved because we never really hit the target. So there wasn't no urgency to do so. There is this urgency now, and we will do that. But we are trying to alleviate this immediate concern that we have with this amendment.
Yeah, I understand. But I guess when you talk about some of the mitigations, that when you're talking about traffic, I see that there are, the bike lane and the safety improvements. As a coastside resident, I see traffic increasing, and every day almost, and I also in the future see it increasing quite a bit more. As long as it gets hotter and hotter in the Central Coast, people are going to come over to the coast in droves like they're already doing, and they're doing it more on weekdays also. So I'm not sure how some of the traffic mitigation, I fully support all of them, don't get me wrong, but I don't see that having an impact on the traffic on the coast. And then also in that one area of Cypress Point where we're adding those units. And then once again, as I said, we're going to add 62 additional units over what would be the normal cap if it's fully maximized. So I think I can see, I understand the issue with fulfilling the permits coming in, but this is also about protecting coastal resources and infrastructure constraints, which I think are very real still.
And as I mentioned, those aren't really going to be impacted by this because obviously the permit's already been issued. Should we start to see us reaching the 40 unit limit going forward from 2027, 28 and beyond, again, there is a huge demand, as you can already see, for ADUs. Those limits would still be in place. You're not going to exceed that provided somebody intentionally builds an affordable unit, which is, there is a specific requirement in the ordinance. It's in the policy itself that it has to be certified affordable unit. Then only this exception would be allowed. So we don't foresee that happening. As you can see in the data that we have not had a single affordable unit that's built till 2025. So
right.
we don't perceive any significant change from the status quo that is about 30 or 31 units per year, which is
right.
well within the allowed limit. And we don't foresee that changing probably for the next 3 to 4 years for sure. All we are trying to do is ensure that the residents of the coast have the ability to do what they need to do on their properties. So that's the main driver for us.
Right. Not protecting coastal resources.
Yeah. No. I'll take it from here. Of course, we are concerned about protecting coastal resources. The 61, 62 units you mentioned, those units could have been built in prior years. So because we never, by changing the averaging system to look backwards, what we're doing is we are using units that were never realized but could have been realized. So you understand. And there is no intent for this change to impact coastal resources. To the contrary, we think this change can be accommodated without impacting coastal resources. Commissioner Burrows, you're correct that there is visitor traffic and it increases, and that's I think fact of the life of living on the coast. I think that what we're attempting to do is allow the residents of the coast who have pending projects and want to make a reasonable use of their property to accommodate that within the 40-year limit that has been in place since 2013. It's only a difference in the way in which we average it out.
Okay. I'll,
So historically, there used. Can we go back to the slide that looked at the background in terms of limiting residential growth, first at 125 units, and then to 75 units?
Yeah, unfortunately, this isn't working.
Okay, well,
It's going back.
you're slowly going back.
Yeah.
Okay. And so,
I think it's the background,
The-
first background page.
sure. The local
First-
coastal program, yes, here we go. Originally set a limit at 125 units per year. And then in 2006, it reduced it to 75 units per year. And then in 2009, it further reduced it to 40 units per year. And there were a number of drivers for the reduction. Why don't we reduce it to 0 units per year or negative 1%, so we start moving people out of the coast? Like, why have 40 units? Why have 75 units? Like, how is this actually tied to traffic mitigation and wastewater and sewer? Like, does a certain percentage of growth
So,
protect?
yes,
Like, what is a percentage of growth that actually is doing something to protect the coast side? And I say this because I don't see any particular growth rate having a strong tie to whether or not we can afford to improve services or not. And that seems to be more based on how we grow, where we grow, what kind of infrastructure is built for the type of growth that happens, where we just have a blanket 40 units per year right now. But it doesn't seem like there was anything that changed between 2006 and 2009.
what changed was the maximum number of units per year that were allowed. And I actually came to the county in 2007 when the county had a proposed update to the local coastal program called the Mid-Coast Update. At that time, there was quite a bit of negotiation with the Coastal Commission and discussions with the community to try and strike a balance. The idea of 0% growth rate was put on the table by the Coastal Commission, and that was not something that was supported by the county, nor would I say a majority of the residents, given the need to address housing needs and to accommodate some reasonable economic growth that would occur concurrently with the significant efforts that have been made by the public agencies and service districts to address these concerns. Now, I think you're correct, Commissioner Nugent, that there is not entirely a direct connection between the growth rate and the provision of infrastructure improvements. Those tend to occur on a separate but parallel track at different rates, depending on the year and the infrastructure projects, which take longer to develop to get to the point of construction than developing homes. The 40 units was viewed and is continued to be viewed as an appropriate balance between allowing some reasonable rate of development with the advancement in the addressing the infrastructure constraints. Connect the Coast Side and the projects that have come out from it do represent a significant advancement in addressing those constraints. Actions taken by Sewer Authority Mid-Coast Side to deal with stormwater overflows during winter events represents a significant advancement in the infrastructure concerns. And as far as water supply constraints go, these water districts there have keep a tight grip on the available connections such that they are not issuing connections beyond their capacity to serve. Additionally, one thing that came from Connect the Co side that the county is pursuing is a more direct connection between development and the provision of infrastructure improvements. So currently, certain projects on the Midco side pay into a park and recreation fund that is intended to allow for park and recreation improvements to serve Midcoast residents. With the proposal under Connect the Co side that is being pursued is some sort of mitigation fee that new development would contribute towards the improvement of local roads and streets and trails to address circulation improvements. So there is some degree of connection between new development and funding necessary infrastructure improvements. But as I said earlier, those infrastructure improvements have been pursued by the public agencies in charge of them concurrently with what I would consider to be a really low rate of growth on the coast side that really is intended to accommodate people who have reasonable requests, such as ADUs, such as modest homes on existing vacant lots that are eligible for municipal services, and completely shutting down the opportunity for those property owners to improve their lots with ADUs or to build a reasonable home on a vacant lot that they've owned and paid taxes on. We believe that we've struck the right balance and that the proposed amendment will continue to provide an effective balance.
So my impression is that the 40 units per calendar year was just a political choice based on a growth rate of the, of the current population. But I don't get the sense that it's tied to like a measurable 1% improvement in infrastructure over the course of time. Or like it, to me, the growth rates that have been set and changed over the course of time are mostly just political choices that aren't empirically tied to specific infrastructure improvements. I mean, there's over the course of this time, the cost to build and the cost to purchase a home or rent a place has grown far greater than the inflation and it seems that this increase in costs is also making infrastructure improvements much more expensive to input and create and do. And I guess the question I have is, what difference has there been between the time when we had 125 units per year versus 40 units per year in infrastructure improvements? It doesn't seem like, I mean, has the county changed significantly?
Well, so the reduction from 125 to 75 and then to 40, I think, was based on the additional pressure that was being placed on infrastructure. So when it was reduced to 40 units per year back in 2009, that was before the sewer authority mid-coast side had addressed the stormwater overflows that were occurring during the winter months. That project has been largely completed. They're on the final step of replacing the main line. They installed overflow tanks to deal with that. Since that 40 unit limit was established, the county completed Connect the Coast Side. We built the segment of the parallel trail to Highway 1 that connects north part of Half Moon Bay to Pillar Point Harbor. We are in the final stage of working with Caltrans on the Moss Beach Highway 1 improvement project, which will extend those bike lanes, make significant improvements to the various intersections. And I'm sure there are more, but those are just a few that come to my mind. So, you know, I think, and I hope that we'll hear from folks during public comment. The planning and building team deal with property owners on a day-to-day basis, some of whom have been working for years to construct an ADU for a family member that they want to live there. And those projects have been put on hold. So I think what we're seeking to do is maintain a reasonable rate of growth that I believe the advancements in infrastructure that have been achieved and will continue to be achieved, as I said, provide the right balance to allow for a reasonable use of private property while also not overwhelming the infrastructure that is currently available. With certain exceptions, the visitor impact on the coast, that will continue to be an impact that I think is can't be entirely solved. I believe that many of our projects, including Connect the Coast Side, go a long way at addressing them. But I think that's consistent with all coastal communities that are destinations for folks from the inland areas that want to come appreciate our beautiful coastline.
And then this is specifically just for subsidized, affordable, and ADUs?
No, so though the exception to the 40 unit per year is only allowed for affordable housing projects. That's why we exceeded it in 2025 for the Cypress Point project, which put us over. The 40 unit limit will continue to apply. It's just we will have more availability within that 40 unit because of the way in which we do the averaging. But yes, the 40 unit will continue to apply unless and until we see another affordable housing project, in which case we could exceed it, but only to the extent that the average from the prior years would allow for that.
And would you say that building affordable housing along the coast allows folks that, you know, work jobs along the coast would have actually shorter commutes and less driving instead of driving from, say, the city or city of San Mateo? Or
I do. In fact, a certain number of the units at Cypress Point were reserved for people who live and work on the coast as well as farm workers.
Okay. Thank you.
Through the chair, if I may add a little bit to this. Essentially, this is an administrative challenge that we are facing. You know, obviously there's going to be the issue of not being able to issue any permits till 2028 and whatever challenges that might bring. But beyond that, we will have an onslaught of permits coming in and trying to get them out. That would increase a lot more construction that's happening on the coast side, because suddenly we'll be issuing a whole bunch of permits altogether. So there are operational and administrative challenges that we are also looking at. What we are essentially trying to do is maintaining the status quo prior to 2025. Like, how did we function prior to 2025? We want to maintain that and not create this artificial gap, which essentially what this the amendment is trying to mitigate, is this unnecessary or artificial sort of gap, like we're taking a pause for no rhyme or reason in that sense, and then causing a lot more chaos from 2028 onwards. And again, like I said, it has the potential of being a cascading effect, so we don't know how long that will stretch.
So another question on top of that is, It is my understanding that for most affordable projects to work out financially, they need to be at least have a certain floor of number of units. You can't just, it's difficult to build a lot of affordable housing with low unit buildings. And so by having a low cap on growth annually, we could potentially prevent most affordable housing projects from being built along the coast. Is that one of the things that like a financial constraint is pushing up against a 40 unit max for subsidized affordable housing? Is that?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we pushed back in 2009 for the ability to exceed that allocation, because we knew that if a viable affordable housing project came through, it would not only eat up all those 40 units, but it could exceed it. So I do think that's a factor, with exception to the ADUs, which we generally consider to be affordable.
Mm-hmm. But just to clarify, ADUs considered affordable isn't affordable as defined in the policy. It has to be specifically deeded that it is affordable, and then only would it be counted beyond the 40 unit limit. Otherwise, it's within the 40 unit limit.
Okay. And that, in a sense, can help with the barriers to financing deeded affordable units construction.
Correct. I think, with this revised averaging system, that there could be, if, for example, through our housing element rezoning program, if some affordable housing project came about from that effort, that under this averaging system, it seems likely that we would be able to accommodate a number of units that could be financially viable.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Okay. So is ADU, does that fall under those 40 units?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Permitting.
the only exception would be if that ADU is deeded to be affordable. So it would require to meet the affordable benchmarks, which is tied to the median income and how low below the median income is the rental price or the sale price if it is sold eventually, because certain laws allow for that now. It would have to be deeded into that. So unless that is in the deed, it's not considered affordable and would be part of the limit of the 40 unit cap.
Okay. So this, what we are proposing is not a temporary amendment.
It is a permanent amendment.
Sorry?
It is a permanent amendment. It will change how we average out
okay, so
excess
this is
affordable
moving
unit.
forward. Yeah. This is how
yes.
we are going to be
yes.
doing the averaging.
And if I may, if we do see that there is more ADU development happening than what is right now, and we start to hit the cap, what that does is it starts to limit how many units we can go back towards to gain that excess. So it itself is finite should we start hitting the limits in the future.
Okay.
So the 166 that I said we have, and say from 2027 onwards, we start to hit the 40 unit limit every year, we only have that 166 to pull from. Once that is done, it's done. So that's why I was mentioning that we have to go back to the Coastal Commission with greater detail in terms of meeting those other requirements, as I mentioned, the transportation plans, the infrastructure stuff, before
which would have taken time.
Yes, which will take time.
Right.
And we don't know if all of that what we've done will really satisfy the Coastal Commission at this point. So we want to do that. We want to be better prepared to do that. But in the meantime, because we are in this bind at this point, we'd like to make this amendment, which again, as I mentioned, we've spoken with the Coastal Commission staff, and they think that this is a viable option.
Okay. So it's quite an act here. And we haven't even talked much about the housing element pushing us to
Those when I said there are legal challenges potential. I mean
right.
that was the backdrop in
Right.
in that sense that I was mentioning.
Okay.
Again,
But this we are only focusing on the mid coast here.
yes, yes,
Right.
and
Rest of the unincorporated areas are elsewhere too.
Yep.
Okay.
and through chair, I don't know if you've already been informed, but we did get our housing element certified a couple of weeks ago, so we are in the clear. The only, I think,
Wow.
jurisdiction in San Mateo County is Half Moon Bay that hasn't gotten a certified housing element. So just letting you know that we've cleared that hurdle.
Okay. All right.
That's
Congratulations
fantastic
on that.
news.
You stole the thunder from my director's report.
Okay. So, just more for my information's sake, do cities face this kind of situation too about not the housing element, about number of permits that they can issue every year?
Half Moon Bay has a little more complex setup in the same fashion because, as I mentioned, the 75 that we had recommended was a 2% based on a 2% growth.
Okay.
When the Coastal Commission looked at that, they pushed back and said you have to match Half Moon Bay, which was a 1% growth that they had in place. That itself has been a challenging thing for them in their housing element as well. They have some specific, and I don't know the details, so don't quote me on it, but they have certain exceptions to that you can have a slightly higher growth rate for specific locations in Half Moon Bay, and that's where their downtown and other areas can have actually more housing development, but they also have a limit as such.
But just to expand on the use of quotas in other jurisdictions, it's something that the state has, really frowned upon. And in fact, I think in some instances have declared it illegal. A lot of current state laws give deference to the coastal zone, recognizing the unique resources and challenges faced on the coast and the role of the Coastal Commission. So there are certain exceptions that apply to the coastal zone that allow us to continue the use of quotas, but outside the coastal zone, that would be a real battle with the state.
Okay. Thank you.
A couple of questions about the jurisdictional authority here. Coastal Commission, his final say. We were making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors for the county. That will subsequently, if approved by the county, that would then go to the Coastal Commission for final approval.
That is correct. Any LCP amendment has to be approved by the Coastal Commission.
Okay. In at least one way, the new mechanism for averaging seems a bit more it seems a bit more like paying banking housing allotments versus borrowing from the future. In the old schema, if you have a 3-year rolling window, then you are effectively committing to zero development in subsequent years if you exceed, or not zero, but fewer developments in the subsequent years if you exceed it in any particular year. By doing a backward looking averaging, you do have to bank those in order to have them available for allotment in the future. One perhaps consequence of this, if you could put up the plot with the color coded bars. So in this schema, we're assuming you get a typical development of ADUs, you're going to be able to bank them again if or ADUs or other developments. You'll start accruing a reserve of allotments. But to Commissioner Nugent's point, in the future, if you want to have a large, like affordable or otherwise, if you want to have any kind of large scale development, you will need to experience a few years of reduced or typical, but less than 40 units per year growth.
Absolutely, if we don't change the limit.
No,
as
we're yeah, if we don't change the limit, but where we should change the
so
average.
if what we are recommending stands and we don't go, as I mentioned, we are trying to pursue increasing the limit. But if we don't go for that, you are right. If we start hitting 40 units every year, and as I mentioned, we only have that 166 that's available right now, and
we're using all of it.
We're not using all of it.
Okay.
We're using, as you can see, the orange that you have in the proposed, that's still remaining. I've added the 62 unit extra that we have from 2025 back into the previous years. So we still have some capacity left. Yes, if we don't hit the target, the limit every year going forward, that would be added to that bank, so to say. But I would like to also mention something here, which at the time of this limit that was being set, we didn't have any precedence in terms of how many units were being developed. That was not considered. This was a new limit, and they were looking forward because there was nothing to look back to. And that is what I think the Coastal Commission staff, when they looked at it, saying, okay, this makes sense, and this is an acceptable amendment to that, because we just did not have
a history of it.
We've seen the history. We don't really hit the target. Their decision at that time was based on whatever perception there was at that time, and that was they thought was an adequate amount to be allowed for, and they've now seen that is not being reached, so they're comfortable with this idea. So that is something that when you're comparing the two, you have to take into consideration when the original amendment was in place, there wasn't any history to go look at.
None of these limits apply to redevelopment of an existing, like a home improvement.
No.
Home this is only for new development.
As long as there's no new unit being developed, this doesn't apply to that. It is only for new units,
new residential units. Nor does it apply to commercial or non-residential development.
Okay. I think Commissioner Burrows had more to say.
Yeah, so looking into the future, if the bank of permits is exhausted, what's the plan then?
As I mentioned, we are looking to actually increase the limit because we believe we have met the conditions set by the Coastal Commission and the LCP. And when we pursue that, and we will likely, if they agree to that, would likely go back to that 75 that we originally had recommended in, I believe, 2006. That will allow us some more allowances as such. But then again, this is all pretty much in the future, so we don't know for sure. What we can say for certain that if this passes, we are limited to, as I mentioned, whatever we haven't consumed in the past. And as we move in the future, and if there is more demand for ADUs, you can easily see that we'd be hitting the 40 unit, maybe in 4 years' time, there are more ADUs being developed, or there is another change in the state law that allows for more units. We may be hitting that pretty quickly, and that would limit our ability to do affordable housing with this exception that we have put into place. But we are hoping that as we move forward, we actually ask for a raise in terms of the limit, because we have invested in the infrastructures that were called for in the LCP.
And to be clear on that, that this is just a concept that would have to go before the Planning Commission, the board, and the Coastal Commission in the future. So that is the long-term plan, recognizing that the bank is limited. But I just want to make sure everyone understands that we can only use the units that are in the bank for affordable housing once we hit that 40 unit limit. So the 40 unit limit will continue to apply moving forward. In the future, we can only use those units in the bank for a different affordable housing project.
Was there a consideration of other methods of measuring this? Or, for instance, like if you were a certain amount of units over, then that would,
we looked at all sorts of permutations and combinations. This was the one that seemed to be the easiest and cleanest in terms of concerns that we thought that the Coastal Commission would have, and that sort of proved us correct in that sense, that when we did have a conversation, then they were really open to this idea. We did think about, like an exception for the
Affordable housing. Yeah. I think,
all of those things were considered, but it seemed to be a bit more of a lift compared to this.
just to complete my thought there, we did contemplate just accepting affordable housing and ADUs from the cap. However, that, did not, would not ensure that we stay within that 40 unit limit on average originally established by the commission. And we were therefore thought that would not be as supported as the commission staff, and they agreed with that.
Did you have any? Okay, all right. We can move on to public comment then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have one virtual hand raised on Zoom. And for this item, we also did receive written correspondence that was circulated to the commission. I will first call on Ping Chow. Please unmute and begin.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Thank you very much. I listened to the presentation, and while it sounds like a good goal in terms of trying to find affordable housing, I think we need to look at what is realistically possible and what we want. The coast side, and I've been there for more than 25 years, the coast side is a unique area. It is limited inbound by the Highway 1 coming from the north. It took a long time to build that tunnel, and the outbound is 92 and inbound. Anyone living there knows both those areas, those roads, are very congested during the weekend because all of the Bay Area wants to come to the coast. So it serves the Bay Area in terms of the weekends and the tourism and the local residents. The problem is infrastructure. You are limited by that because of the geography. I would recommend all council people to go out to the coast side and really look closely and spend a weekend and see how congested it is. Wanting affordable housing, of course, is a noble cause, and we all want that, of course. The people who live there want that. Having even the ADUs, I'm surprised that got passed because that just basically increases the number of people that stresses the system on the coast side. And the coast side is unique because if you're looking at tax receipts, okay, you're talking about inbound tourism. If you add to that more housing that the infrastructure cannot support, in addition to the tourism that stresses it out during the holidays and the weekends, then you're going to be creating down the road, let's say not now, but 5, 10, 20 years down the road, a destruction of the very area you want to have people to enjoy. It is not the same as developing in the other areas of the Bay Area. This is a very small section of geography that is already overstressed. So I would recommend you seriously think about this. The 40 unit per year approval is an arbitrary number. In reality, it should be 0. There should be no more ADUs. I would recommend you find out exactly what those ADUs are actually used for, the ones that have been approved. I think that finding affordable housing for people is definitely something we need in the Bay Area, but we are also faced with the realities of the coast side. We just went through with the previous case of how the erosion is destroying the coast, okay, with added infrastructure. Now you want to add more units. I'm surprised you even approved that the affordable housing projects that are already along that's in the area, because that in 10 years' time, I guarantee will stress everything out, and therefore you'll be destroying the very thing that you want to preserve. So I would recommend not approving additional units. In fact, if anything, reducing and holding all building, because that coastside, you just have to spend 1 or 2 weeks and you will see the erosion along the coast. You will see how congested it is, and you will see that there's no way it's going to be able to support additional units coming in. So I recommend that you do not approve this, do not go forward, do more studies if you want to, but you just look with your eyes and you will see for yourself, there's no way this can be supported. The gentleman who is making the presentation probably doesn't live there. He doesn't know, he's just looking at numbers. But as we all know areas which have been destroyed over 10, 20 years time because of decisions that were made, not looking at the real pros and cons. Of course, we would all want something, but the fact is it realistic? We can only do so much with the coast side. I think it's overstressed already, and I would not recommend this project. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now call on Maureen Santos. Go ahead and unmute and begin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to share, my experience as a local coastside resident. I have a project in Montera, a property that I live in, that I'd like to build an ADU on, and I went through the proper channels about 2 years ago to start this project. Spent a lot of my savings, a lot of my hard-earned money to get this project going so that my parents could live in the ADU. Since then, I've been told that I can no longer proceed with this project. And, it's costing me a lot of money, a lot of stress. And I'm not a developer. I'm just trying to utilize my property. Sorry, I'm walking on stairs. So I just wanted to share my experience, and I'm just super disappointed. As a longtime resident, I just want to make use of my property, use it for my family. I did everything going by the books, did everything right. Went through the proper channels, got the permits, and to be denied last minute is super disappointing. And I just hope you guys would reconsider and think of, the local residents who are just trying to utilize their properties and our property rights. And we're not all developers. We're not trying to, make the coastside we're just trying to do the best we can. And I just hope you guys would take into consideration that some of us are just trying to provide for our families and do what's right for our community, and not just thinking about profits. And we're not all developers. Sorry, I keep repeating myself, but I just appreciate you listening to my story. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, Mr. Chair, we have no further comment.
All right. We can close public comment then and proceed with commission discussion. Anybody? Let's start on this end this time.
I feel staff has put in a lot of thinking behind it, and looks to me, I do not know what were the other options, but looks good to me, that we should move ahead with this proposal. I'll leave it at that.
I appreciate the work that staff has done on this, and I think this is a smart answer to a challenging problem. And I do think we should recommend this to the Board of Supervisors. Yeah.
Difficult decision based on the limitations of the coast side and the concerns about the environment and traffic and water, et cetera. Very tricky situation. But I think that staff has done a very good job of presenting the plan. So I'm in full support of the plan.
Yeah. So I know I said this earlier, and I didn't quite understand the response, but the net effect of this is going to be 62 units over the limit in the next couple years. So I understand the other point where you're stuck at 18. That's kind of a draconian number also, and people are, I assume she was saying she got turned down because they hit the limit, or?
The speaker had obtained the required planning permits and was in the building permit pipeline, but her project stalled for personal reasons. And when we were faced with this limit, and we already had more building permit applications in than we could approve, per our regulations, we are allowed to, and we move forward with canceling building permit applications that had remained inactive for 6 months or more. So there were a number of applications in the door that got canceled because they had been inactive for 6 months. And
Right.
that's how we got down to 24. We still have this issue of having 6 more pending applications than we're allowed to approve. So it's been a real challenge for staff to deal with this, and it's been, I think, very difficult on the applicants who've invested a lot of time and money to get to the building permit stage to be told, well, you're going to have to wait another 2 years.
Yeah. Right. But I guess what I'm suggesting is we have this 62 unit overage here, and we have 18 units here. And I think there's a lot of room in here for some kind of reasonable compromise, which I would definitely want to keep more on the lower end. But in cases like that, there might be should be some kind of process to make something happen. But I can't get past possibly adding all these units. And the thing is, the affordable units, Cypress Point, whether it's affordable or not, people are on the roads, they're using water, they're using their toilets, they're using everything. It's still there. And all of these units, no matter what they are, they're going to add to the capacity. And so I can't, this solution, I can't support as it is right now, but I'd urge you to look at ways that we can maybe meet somewhere in the middle a little bit, because I do recognize that the 18 units that are left are that's a tough one to get around. But at the same time, honestly, we had this has been over a year. When did Cypress Point get? I mean, have you been thinking about this for quite a long time, I hope?
Well, Cypress Point had to get through the planning permit stage. They did eventually. Their project was dependent on securing certain tax credits and finances. And so it wasn't until late 2025 that we realized that it was indeed going to get permitted prior to 2025, and we would exceed it. So although that project has been pending for a long time, whether or not it would be successful and actually be able to secure all necessary permits wasn't known until towards the end of 2025.
Okay, it just seems like we're put in a position where we have to kind of move things along in a semi-rushed manner, which
If I may add on Cypress Point, the first meeting I attended, presentation on Cypress Point I attended was in 2020. So this project took a while before it came to groundbreaking. I don't know at what stage it is now, but whatever I read, the press release on that, I think it has gone through that stage. And Director Monowitz can update us as to what their completion date is. Maybe you have information.
It is currently under construction. They were envisioning, I think, a 1.5-year construction schedule. So I think, those units will probably come online, mid to late 2027.
Right. So just for your benefit, that's how long it took. So just as a resident of the county, I'm just saying that another unit like that, I don't know. It will could take years before something like that would come around.
Sure. Thank you.
If I may, through the chair, address some of Mr. Burrow's concerns. So as you mentioned, that there is this challenge in terms of all the additional burden. They went through the process and they got approved through the process that was allowed. If we make a decision in the positive or the negative, that actually will not have much of an effect because all you're doing is delaying the impact to 2028. And there will be a whole flood of applications there, and we are 100% guaranteed that we'll hit the 40-unit limit for at least 2028. And I've done some rough math, and we probably will hit it on 2029 as well, and make cascade down into 2026. So if we say yes or no on this, really won't make much of a difference in terms of the impact on infrastructure in the present condition. So if you are concerned about the infrastructure, there is only a 2-year delay, essentially, with regards to the impacts that we'll be seeing down the line. In terms of my opinion, that by agreeing or not agreeing to this amendment, all there is just a delay of 2 years, and you'll have the same situation.
Right, and as I said, there's a lot of room in the middle.
I'm afraid I don't understand what you're referencing in the room in the middle. We've already approved the Cypress Point.
Right.
Yeah. Right now,
all I'm saying is that we're stuck at 18. Right now, we're stuck at 18 units, right? And then now what we're saying is we can add 62 more units onto it would be 120 units. Now it's going to be 182 units.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
I think that's based on an assumption that we are going to hit 40.
Right, and it could be 60 because if the average is 31,
no, it could not be.
I get that.
It could not be 60 unless it was 40 continues to be
over 60 over the limit instead of 82.
The 40 unit limit continues
instead of 182. It could be 160 or something that we hit.
I'm not understanding.
Right. One other quick question. In terms of timelines, say we vote on this today, and it would then go to the Board of Supervisors. How much on the scale of few weeks, a month?
Yes, we had originally hoped to bring it to them on July 9th. That meeting is going to be for budget only and only consent. So, right, did I say July? I meant to say June 10th. So, right now we're looking at the second meeting in June.
Okay.
The board will be on recess in July. So if we can't make it in June, we'd have to wait till August.
And assuming you did make the second June
Yeah.
meeting,
Yes.
it would subsequently have to go to the
To the
coastal
board, no, to the Coastal Commission.
and that would be scheduled something like,
It's hard to say how long it will take the Coastal Commission. As Mr. Singh mentioned, we had a good conversation with the commission staff who indicated the likelihood that they could support it as a de minimis amendment. So that reduces the amount of processing time it would take them to bring to the commission. So I think in the best case scenario, they would place it on their agenda within 2 months of our submittal to them.
all right. So in the best case scenario, we're talking about an August type.
Yeah, we would get our submittal to them in early August, and then they, I'm sorry, early July. And I think August would be a real push. We'd be lucky.
Okay,
Best
September.
case scenario, yeah, August, but more likely September.
All right.
Or later.
Yeah. All right. That's everybody. I really do entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that the Planning Commission recommend that the Board of Supervisors adopt a resolution directing staff to submit the local coastal program amendment to the method of averaging the growth rate cap to allow for affordable housing development in the urban mid-coast for California Coastal Commission certification by adopting the recommendations in this staff report. Do I have a second?
We have a second?
Yeah.
That was a motion by Vice Chair Nugent and a second by Commissioner Serrano Kwan. Commissioner Burrows,
No.
Commissioner Gupta,
Aye.
Commissioner Serrano Kwan.
Aye.
Vice Chair Nugent,
Aye.
Chair Garcia.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-1.
Thank you. I think. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. The next items on the agenda are primarily from the director, so I'll just move forward to item 4, correspondence. We did not receive any correspondence other than the correspondence that was regarding the items we heard today, which were placed on our website and in some cases distributed to you by hand. Moving on to item 5, our next meeting will be on June 10th. We are not planning on a study session. We do have 2 items currently on the agenda. One is for a 5-lot subdivision proposed off Cordilleras Road in Emerald Lake Hills. And we have a use permit renewal for the Sports House Recreation Facility in North Fair Oaks. As initially submitted, that use permit renewal also included an amendment to allow the Synapse School that currently operates in the neighborhood to expand into the Sports House building. The applicant has requested that amendment be put on hold, so it looks like we'll just be considering the use permit renewal for the Sports House Recreation Facility. So unless there's questions on that, I'll move on to item 6, the director's report. As you heard from Mr. Singh, we received confirmation from HCD that our housing element is in substantial compliance with state law, which is great news. Obviously, it restores our eligibility to tap into state grant funds and certain housing program funds, and it also takes the builder's remedy applications off the table for the time being. But I would say that this is a conditional certification. The state did make it clear that the county does have a responsibility to continue to move forward with consideration of the zoning amendments for the coastside properties. And if for some reason that doesn't work out, to find alternative sites. So while this is a great milestone, we're not done yet. So also, as I mentioned, the June 9th Board of Supervisors hearing will be specific to the county budget. There is a consent calendar item that we're moving forward. That is to change the seat designations for our Agricultural Advisory Committee members. I think I mentioned that at the last meeting. And then the next meeting of the board will be on June 23rd, where they will consider a report on the Mid-Coast Park and Recreation fee that I mentioned earlier. This is a mitigation fund that new development contributes to. And per state law, we need to report to the Board of Supervisors every year on what we've collected and how it's been used. So that will go to the board on June 23rd. And unless there's any questions from the commissioners, that concludes my report for today.
Quick question. You said coastside properties, plural. So I was only aware of the El Granada.
Oh, it's one area, but there's more than one parcel.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. So I don't think you were on mic, so I'll repeat. The question is the word substantial and substantial compliance. What does that mean? It means we're not in full compliance. We have met the rezonings that were approved by the Board of Supervisors, meets our regional housing allocation. So that was their basis of determining we're in substantial compliance. The reason we're not in full compliance is because the state requires a buffer to that RENA, and RENA being the regional housing allocation. And that's where the coastside property comes in, where that was not only intended to provide a buffer, but also address state housing law regarding furthering fair housing.
You mentioned this change forecloses the
builder's remedy.
The builder's remedy. Were there any builder's remedy applications in the pipe at the time?
Yes, we have 3 builder's remedy applications in the pipeline currently, and they will be allowed to proceed forward, although our analysis of them to date indicate there are some potential fatal flaws.
We discussed before the BART changes to service in potentially impacting the Colma. Would that have a significant impact to our achievement of the RENA standard?
I would say only if that results in the site actually not moving forward for housing development purposes. We do have to provide annual reports to the state on our housing production numbers. And if a few years down the line, it becomes evidence that the Colma area is not going to be conducive to development because, let's say, BART service is reduced, then the county would be in a position where we would have to look at alternative locations to accommodate the numbers we expected to occur in Colma.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, I think if that's it, we can adjourn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.